For anyone who lived through the chaotic joy of the 1990s, there's a special magic in discovering those forgotten gaming masterpieces that time didn't tarnish but perfectly preserved. These are the gems that didn't always get the spotlight they deserved back in the day. Titles with bold ideas, unforgettable moments, and gameplay that still feels fresh today. From obscure cult classics and overlooked RPGs to quirky arcade experiences and bizarre promotional shooters, this list of 13 forgotten 90s games is a tribute to the hidden wonders that still reward players who dig back into the golden age of gaming. Let's get straight into the first game in this list.
This is Snake. Colonel, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What's the situation, Snake?
Metal Gear Solid. If there's one game that taught me how to think like a spy, it was Metal Gear Solid on the original PlayStation. Sneaking through enemy routes with a rattling controller, I remember the butterflies in my stomach every time a guard's flashlight sweep narrowly missed me. It wasn't about mashing buttons, it was about patience and anticipation. I'd crouch behind crates, listen to footsteps, and plan silent takedowns, feeling like I was living out a thriller movie scene. This wasn't just a shooter. It introduced me to stealth gameplay in a way no other game had back then, making every corner and camera feel alive with danger. The controls were tight enough to make stealth feel intuitive, yet punish mistakes brutally. One wrong step could send alarms blaring and hearts racing. Metal Gear Solid didn't just age well. It's a blueprint for how games can make you feel every encounter. Donkey Kong Country. When I booted up Donkey Kong Country on the SNES as a kid, what hit me first was the fluid, punchy platforming that felt miles ahead of its peers. Every level delivered something fresh, sliding down icy slopes, swinging across vines, gliding with Dixie's hair, and ducking under spikes at the last second. The way the Kong duo moved wasn't just responsive, it felt joyful, like the game was encouraging you to experiment with momentum and risk. And man, collecting those bananas and discovering secret barrels was addictive. I'd rewind and replay the levels just to shave off a jump or snag an extra life. Rare's use of pre-rendered graphics didn't just look gorgeous for its time, it made the world feel deep and alive in a way that drew me in with every new stage. Even now, revisiting it scratches that same nostalgic itch of pure platforming fun. Tekken 3. I still remember the first time I picked up Tekken 3 and felt the weight of every hit. It wasn't just punching or kicking. The battles flowed, combos connected naturally, and each character had a distinct rhythm you could master. The introduction of sidestepping added a whole new dimension. It wasn't just about who hit the hardest, but who read the opponent's movement first. Every fight felt like a dance, and learning a character's unique juggles or timing and evasive sidestep became incredibly satisfying. The extra modes like Tekken Force gave me a break from versus matches too. Suddenly I was smashing through waves of enemies in a beat-em-up style, and it felt refreshing compared to straight fights. Tekken 3 didn't just evolve the series. It perfected 3D arcade fighting gameplay in a way that still holds up and keeps players coming back, match after match. The Neverhood, 1996. The Neverhood is the kind of game that makes you stop and marvel at how weirdly wonderful video games can be. Right from its claymation world, every character, every environment lovingly handcrafted. The gameplay felt like stepping into a quirky animated film you could control. It wasn't about flashy combat or explosions, but solving imagination-bending puzzles that often forced you to think sideways. Walking around as claymen, unlocking secrets was like piecing together a madcap storybook where logic sometimes took a vacation, and humor seeped through every creaky clay corridor. There's this charm to the way the solutions are hidden in the environment, or in little interactions that make you grin when your brain finally clicks. This wasn't a typical adventure. It was a clay-born odyssey of curiosity, laughter, and occasional what the heck moments that made the world feel alive in the most peculiar way. Chrono Trigger. Talking about RPGs without mentioning Chrono Trigger feels impossible. From the moment I stepped into its vibrant world, the battle system hooked me in with its smooth, turn-based flow that didn't feel slow or clunky. It sparked excitement. Combining characters' abilities and dual or triple tech attacks make every fight feel strategic and cinematic, like orchestrating your own team of heroes in a grand story. The way time travel was woven into the gameplay, influencing quests, world states, and even endings, made exploration feel meaningful at every turn. I remember laughing, crying, and replaying scenes because each decision seemed to echo through the timeline, enhancing the emotional pull. And the soundtrack? Those melodies weren't just background music. They stayed in your head, carrying memories of victories and heartbreaks. Chrono Trigger didn't just age well. It redefined what an RPG could be, and it still resonates with players decades later. Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Now, moving on to Rayman 2 felt like entering a living cartoon, but one where platforming was tight, polished, and endlessly inventive. Transitioning from 2D to 3D, this game nailed the feeling of exploration and momentum in ways few others did back then. I'd sprint across platforms, blast robotic pirates with Rayman's charged orbs, and use his iconic helicopter hair to float down tricky gaps, all while grabbing globy lums that unlock new parts of the world. The pacing of the levels constantly surprised me. One moment I was solving spatial puzzles, the next I was in a high-intensity chase or discovering a hidden path off the beaten track. And the way the camera and controls worked together made the experience feel intuitive instead of frustrating, which was a big deal for 3D platformers of that era. Rayman 2 didn't just age. It feels alive and perfectly playable, even today. Terranigma. There's something profound about playing Terranigma. It's not just an action RPG. It's a journey about reviving an entire world. From the top-down movement and real-time combat where arc thrusts, jumps, and dodges enemies, the gameplay feels both familiar and endlessly rewarding. As you defeat foes and gain experience, Ark doesn't just level up. You feel his progression as he becomes stronger, and the world around you begins to breathe back to life. Traveling across continents, uncovering towns, helping inhabitants, and seeing life blossom from barren lands gives every quest this emotional weight that goes far beyond typical fetch quests. The battle system is simple, yet effective, combining movement and attacks cleanly so each skirmish feels brisk and responsive. Even though it never officially released in North America, Terranigma's blend of exploration, combat, and storytelling makes it a hidden gem that still stands tall in the hearts of RPG fans.
Street Fighter 3 New Generation. Street Fighter 3.
Street Fighter 3. Guys, when I first dropped into Street Fighter 3, it felt like Capcom reinvented the fighting genre right in front of my eyes. This wasn't just another sequel to Street Fighter 2. It rewrote the rules of combat with moves like parrying, super jumps, and leap attacks that made every match feel like a high-stakes dance. I remember sitting there, heart pounding, mastering that perfect timing to parry an incoming combo and turn the whole fight around. There's such a satisfying ebb and flow to the gameplay. You're constantly reading your opponent, baiting attacks, then punishing them with something brutal or beautiful. And the super art system is about choosing which powerful art to bring into battle. It had a depth that made every character feel unique and strategic. Even now, replaying the parry-heavy duels reminds me how fresh and exciting this game felt back in the 90s. A true fighting gem that aged like fine arcade gold. Suikoden 2. I still get chills thinking about how Suikoden 2 mixed classic JRPG turn-based battles with epic storytelling that genuinely hit me right in the gut. This game wasn't just about grinding levels, it was about building something bigger. Over 100 recruitable characters means every corner of the world felt alive and full of possibility, not just numbers on a menu. The standard turn-based combat was already fun. 6-person parties, rune magic, and unite attacks made fights feel tactical and meaningful. But they threw in duels and massive army confrontations that shook up the flow in brilliant ways. I remember pacing my teammates, trying different rune setups, watching as my castle hubs slowly filled with allies, and feeling so connected to each story thread. It wasn't always perfect. Some of the battles dragged a touch, but that sense of community and emotional investment made this one of the 90s RPGs that still resonates with me today. Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals. Let me tell you about Lufia 2, the SNES JRPG that surprised me hard. The moment I stepped into its world, I realized it wasn't content being just another turn-based RPG. Dungeons were puzzle-heavy playgrounds where every room felt like a mini Z-World brain twist, where battles and obstacles were as much about your wits as your stats. Monsters moving only when you moved in dungeons made the fights feel strategic, almost like chess with swords. The capsule monster system, feeding creatures to evolve them into allies, added this unexpected side of collection and customization I didn't know I wanted in an NES game. And then there's the Ancient Cave, a 99-floor roguelite challenge that could eat entire weekends and still leave you wanting more. What really sticks with me is how this game made exploration and brainpower just as rewarding as combat. That blend of puzzle, RPG, and challenge aged so well.
In the beginning, the Creator brought forth the shining jewels of the universe and all their secrets. One such jewel was the world that would be known as Septerra. Its secret hidden within its core.
Septerra Core, Legacy of the Creator. I still talk about Septerra Core like it's one of the best hidden RPG experiences the 90s quietly delivered. Playing it felt like sitting down with a forgotten Final Fantasy script written by someone with a slightly weird, brilliant imagination. The world itself, 7 distinct rotating shells around a living core, made traversal feel massive and incredibly intriguing. Gameplay split between exploration, conversation, and turn-based battles kept the pace fresh. I wasn't just grinding, I was thinking. Battles weren't mindless menus. Timing, positioning, and knowing when to let a character's dial charge up before unleashing powerful combos made every fight feel deliberate and satisfying. The story and world building had this rugged, unpolished quality that made it feel alive. I still remember wandering deserts, teaming up with bizarre allies, and feeling genuinely invested in Maya's journey. This one definitely deserves more love from anyone who digs deep, thoughtful RPGs that aged like hidden treasure.
I will not deny his request.
The Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes. Let's talk about the Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes. It just felt like the first time I really played a detective game where every clue mattered. This wasn't action. It was observation, deduction, and conversation. You move Holmes across late 19th century London, piecing together evidence, talking to suspects, and feeling that slow build of a real mystery unfolding. And wow, did it make me feel like a sleuth. The gameplay loop of interacting with people, choosing the right verbal options, and manipulating inventory items brought the story to life in a way few games did back then. And Watson wasn't just a sidekick. Hearing his thoughts helped steer my deductions, making the whole experience feel like a team effort. This is one of the purest point-and-click detective adventures of its era, and replaying it now reminds me how satisfying it is to solve a mystery rather than just fight monsters. A totally different kind of gameplay that still feels immersive and rewarding decades later.
Now what?
Now we will help you retrieve your 5 mons and defeat Feyran and his soldier leader Croax. Then all of Adelpha will be free.
Outcast. I still remember the first time Outcast dropped me into the alien world of Adelpha. It was like walking into a sci-fi novel, and I got to explore myself. The gameplay was this bold mix of action, adventure, freedom, and clever world interaction. You could walk, jump, climb, swim, talk to natives, fight, and ride local beasts called Tuanha, all with just a couple of buttons and a mouse. What made it stand out was how open it felt. You weren't shoved down a narrow line. You were free to roam the continents via travel gates and teleport beacons, uncovering quests and lore at your own pace. Combat wasn't just hack and slash either. You had multiple futuristic weapons, aiming mechanics, and gadgets like hollow decoys to strategize with. There's a genuine joy in exploring lush landscapes, tackling optional quests, and just soaking in how big the world felt for a 90s PC game. It was ambitious, it was weird, and it still feels like a hidden adventure gem that aged far better than most. And guys, that wraps our journey through 13 forgotten gaming masterpieces from the 1990s that honestly aged like fine wine. These games may not always get the spotlight today, but their stories, gameplay, music, and pure creativity still hit just as hard as they did back then. Whether you grew up playing them or you're discovering them for the first time, they prove that a great game design never goes out of style. If any of these brought back memories or inspired you to give them a try, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more classic gaming content. And thanks for watching.